Attention, lovers of breathtaking stories. Are you ready to dive into a tale that will make you question everything you know about love, betrayal, and redemption? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video so you don't miss any of our impactful narratives. The thunder of betrayal. A bolt of lightning ripped across the darkened sky as Elena Vargas clung to her hospital bag, making her way into the neon-lit lobby of the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami. She was alone. A sharp pain tore through her body. Fear gripped her heart. Still, she moved with silent determination. Hours earlier, her billionaire husband, Ricardo Mendoza, had stormed out of their penthouse, determined to chase the thrill of an affair rather than stay by her side. Now, as the thunder boomed above her, Elena faced the impending reality of giving birth alone. Little did Ricardo know that this very night, this single, heartbreaking moment, would shake him to his core and force him to reconsider everything he believed was important. Elena Vargas was not born into wealth. She grew up in a modest neighborhood in Madrid, the daughter of a history teacher and a post office clerk. Her life revolved around library books, hand-me-down clothes, and big dreams she never believed were impossible, only distant. She was pragmatic, kind-hearted, and fiercely intelligent. After graduating in communication, she took a job as an events coordinator for a charitable foundation. It was there that fate put her face-to-face with Ricardo Mendoza, the charismatic billionaire heir to the Mendoza Corporation fortune. Ricardo was everything she was not: extravagant, powerful, accustomed to opulence. Tabloids labeled him a tech genius who had expanded his family's business from real estate to cutting-edge AI firms. He was also famous for his elusiveness, refusing any serious relationship, despite his frequent appearances at high society galas with stunning models on his arm. But to everyone's surprise, especially Elena's, the two formed an improbable bond over a shared passion for philanthropy. She admired his innovative approach to solving global problems. He marveled at her empathy and sincerity. Their courtship was swift and intense. Ricardo proposed only 6 months after they met, whisking her away for a weekend trip to the Florida Keys that ended with a sparkling ring and a tearful yes. The media covered their wedding in lavish detail, highlighting Elena's transition from a common background to the highest echelons of wealth. She became a society page favorite for her humility and warmth. Yet, beneath the fairy tale facade, cracks began to appear. Ricardo's ambition knew no bounds. He plunged into multi-million-dollar acquisitions, prolonged business trips abroad, and glamorous parties with top executives, celebrities, and potential investors. Meanwhile, Elena spent nights worrying at home, longing for the man who once confided his dreams of changing the world to her. She believed in giving him space to pursue his dreams, never suspecting that those business dinners might involve more than mere negotiations. Their arguments escalated when Elena discovered she was pregnant. Ricardo had once promised to start a family, but now he seemed restless. "We're too busy," he'd say. "Oh, I'm not sure it's the right time for children. Oh, let's not let this hold us back." The tension grew, mixed with Elena's disappointment and Ricardo's increasing coldness. He never openly admitted infidelity, but prolonged nights out, shirts smelling of perfume, and whispered phone calls suggested something deeper. The night Elena's contractions began, she called Ricardo repeatedly. He was at some exclusive penthouse party, rumored to be in the company of a wealthy socialite named Isabel Navarro, known for her cunning charm and extravagant lifestyle. Each of Elena's frantic calls went to voicemail, unanswered. The pains in her abdomen sharpened, her breath hitched, and fear coiled in her stomach. Gathering her courage, she hailed a taxi alone ignoring the flash of paparazzi cameras that occasionally stalked outside their building. When she arrived at the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami, thunder boomed above her, rain lashed the ambulance bay, and anxiety gnawed at her. Would Ricardo come? Would she be forced to give birth to their child alone? Paramedics whisked her into a wheelchair. Staff quickly transferred her to the maternity ward. All the while, she kept her phone clutched in her hand, expecting a message from Ricardo, but his phone remained silent. In that moment, she recognized that the promise of, "We will always face life together," was shattered. The ring on her finger felt heavy, the pledge meaningless. Without Ricardo by her side, her tears blurred the hospital corridor, mixing with the harsh overhead lights. She steeled herself, reminding the child within her that they were in this together. Mommy is here for you, always, even if Daddy has chosen to be elsewhere. Outside the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami, a faint glow in the dark, the storm intensified. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the hospital facade with brief, ghostly flashes. Inside, nurses in pastel scrubs rushed from room to room, guiding mothers in labor and anxious families. Elena, dressed in a hospital gown, was taken to a delivery room. Her contractions had become more frequent, each one a wave of pain that threatened to overwhelm her. A kind-eyed nurse named Carmen Lopez introduced herself. "I'll be right by your side, darling," Carmen said warmly, placing a hand on Elena's shoulder. Elena offered a shaky smile in return, grateful for any semblance of comfort. As the doctors prepared for the birth, Elena gripped her phone, willing it to ring. She dialed Ricardo's number again. This time, the call connected, but only for a moment. Through the chaos, she heard loud music, followed by static and a woman's laughter. Then the line went dead. Tears of betrayal stung her eyes. She had never felt so utterly alone. In the Mendoza penthouse across town, the celebration continued. Ricardo was Santis. Indeed, with Isabel Navarro, a sultry figure in a sequined dress, who hung on his arm as they toasted some significant business deal. He felt a buzz in his pocket. Unbeknownst to him, it was Elena, in labor. Between the pulsing bass and the swirling neon lights, he barely noticed the call, or perhaps a part of him chose not to. Guilt gnawed at his conscience whenever he saw Elena's name on his screen, so ignoring the chime became a habit. He drowned his remorse in expensive champagne, letting Isabel's compliments stroke his ego. Back at the hospital, Elena's labor progressed rapidly. Each contraction felt like she was being split in two. Yet she refused strong medication, determined to remain lucid for her baby's arrival. The memory of her father's gentle breath echoed in her mind. "Stay strong, honey. Life's storms are temporary." That's what he had always told her when facing childhood adversity, and now this was the biggest storm of her life. Around midnight, the city's power grid flickered under the strain of the storm. Hallway lights momentarily dimmed. Emergency generators kicked in, bathing the room in a soft glow. Carmen Lopez and the obstetrician, Dr. Sofia Torres, reassured Elena they would handle any complication. She felt through the haze of pain, her hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. Despite the heartbreak, Elena found solace in the miraculous process unfolding. She was about to become a mother, a guardian of a new life. The idea emboldened her. "I will do anything for you, little one," she thought, tears mixing with sweat. "I don't need him if he won't be here. We will be fine." The hours blurred. Nurses and doctors came and went, their voices a comforting murmur. Finally, near dawn, Elena felt the irresistible urge to push. Gritting her teeth, she followed Dr. Torres's instructions. It was an exhausting, all-consuming effort, but fueled by a fierce love. With one final push, she heard her baby's small, pitiful cry. a sound that shattered her heart and rebuilt it all at once. Exhausted, tears streaming, she looked down as the nurse placed a fragile newborn in her arms. The baby's features were scrunched in complaint at the sudden brightness. A flood of emotion overwhelmed Elena. She expected Ricardo to burst through the door at that very moment, realize his mistake, and fall to his knees with repentance. But the door remained closed. There was only the hospital's quiet and her child's soft whimper. She pressed her lips to the baby's damp forehead, whispering a promise. "I promise to love you enough. For both of us." And for the first time that night, despite the storm and the heartbreak, Elena felt a fierce surge of hope. Do you think Ricardo will truly repent? Or is his ego too big? Leave your comments below. The morning of shame, the next morning, dawned gray and hazy. Storm clouds lingered like an unwanted guest. Ricardo Mendoza woke up with a throbbing headache, his mind blurred from too much champagne. He found himself sprawled on a leather lounger in the corner of the penthouse living room, the party's aftermath strewn around him. Empty bottles, half-eaten canapes, and confetti scattered across the floor. Isabel Navarro stirred on a nearby sofa, glancing at Ricardo with a smirk. She rose gracefully, though her hair was disheveled. "Morning, handsome," she purred, but Ricardo barely registered her. His eyes darted to the clock on the mantelpiece. 8:12 a.m. A feeling of dread gripped his stomach. He had a vague, momentary recall of Elena's calls last night. His phone was nowhere in sight. Isabel, sensing his distraction, pouted. "Don't tell me you're going running back to your little wife." The words, tinged with jealousy and scorn, hit a nerve. Ricardo mumbled something incoherent, pushing past her as he searched for his phone amidst the clutter. He finally found it in the kitchen, face down on the marble counter. The screen displayed multiple missed calls from Elena, plus messages from an unfamiliar number. "Elena is in labor. Where are you? And call the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami immediately." His blood ran cold. Stomach churning, he scrolled further, seeing a final message from the nurse, Carmen Lopez. "Gave birth around 5 a.m. Mother and baby stable. She's been asking for you." A wave of panic washed over him. He had missed the birth of his child, the child he had once promised Elena he was ready for, despite his doubts. Suddenly, Isabel's presence felt suffocating. The whole night, a nightmare of self-indulgence. "I have to go," he muttered, grabbing his jacket. Isabel smirked, leaning against the kitchen island. "Sure, go be a hero, but don't expect everything to be forgiven so easily," she added, a sultry laugh that sounded hollow. Ricardo didn't reply. He bolted out the door, adrenaline pumping. The drive to the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami was a blur. He sped through the wet streets, ignoring honking cars, cursing himself for letting his life spiral out of control in reckless parties. Anxiety gnawed at him. How could I let this happen? What if Elena hates me now? What about my son? When he arrived at the hospital, his shirt was wrinkled, and his eyes were bloodshot. The bright fluorescent hallways felt jarring against the darkness of his remorse. He raced to the maternity ward, heart pounding, breath catching. A nurse recognized him. "Mr. Mendoza?" she asked. Ricardo nodded frantically. "Your wife is in room 342. She gave birth to a healthy baby a few hours ago." Relief clashed with shame as he processed it. The nurse's tone implied disapproval, and he couldn't blame her. Steeling himself, he moved down the hallway, each step echoing with guilt. Stopping before the door, he clenched his fists. He wasn't ready to face Elena's wrath or heartbreak, but he had no choice. "I can't undo last night, but I can show up now," he told himself, though his confidence wavered. With a shaky sigh, he pushed the door open. Inside, Elena lay in bed, looking exhausted, but radiant with a postpartum glow. Her eyes lifted to meet his, a whirlpool of emotions there. Pain, anger, relief, exhaustion. In her arms, a small bundle stirred, a single cry breaking the silence. Ricardo stood motionless, swallowing hard. This was the moment he had missed, the child's first breath, the miracle he should have witnessed. And now, all he had was regret. Ricardo stood at the threshold, an observer in the reality of his own family. Elena stared at him, silent, as the newborn let out a soft whimper. He took a hesitant step forward, but she looked down at the child, shielding the baby from his approach. That subtle motion hurt him more than any words. "Elena," he began, his voice hoarse. "I am so sorry. Are you both okay?" She didn't respond immediately. The tension in the room crackled. Finally, she spoke, her tone brittle with exhaustion. "We are fine, thanks to the nurses and doctors who were here." Each syllable stung like a wasp. He took another step forward. "I got the messages too late. I was drunk. I messed up." The insignificant excuses felt heavier in the air than he intended. Elena's eyes flashed with anger. "You were with her, weren't you? Isabel Navarro?" The tabloids had been buzzing for weeks, but I never wanted to believe it. Her breath was shaky, likely from a mix of postpartum fatigue and emotional turmoil. Ricardo ran a hand through his hair. Guilt roiled his stomach. "Elena, it's complicated. Nothing physical. I mean, I was fooling myself. She was just a distraction." "A distraction from what? From me? From our child?" Elena's voice trembled. Tears threatened to spill. "You promised to be here for us. Instead, you left me to give birth alone." Ricardo's heart hammered. He dared to look at the baby, who whined softly in Elena's arms. The tiny face was a perfect blend of both of them. Soft cheeks, a wisp of dark hair. Something in him shifted at the sight, a feeling he had never before experienced. Pure, unfiltered love, and a profound sense of shame. Cautiously, he moved closer. "Can I hold him?" he whispered, not even sure of the baby's gender or name, because he had missed it all. Elena hesitated. She looked at him, the hurt in her eyes palpable. Then, with a sigh that held both resignation and longing for a father's presence in the child's life, she gently handed the baby to him. Ricardo cradled the newborn, his hands trembling. The baby's eyes fluttered open, a swirl of innocence staring up at him. A lump formed in his throat. "It's a girl," Elena murmured, her voice softening as she watched him. "She was born at 5:07 a.m. I named her Sophia." "Sophia," he repeated, his heart clenching. The baby's warmth against his chest felt almost sacred. He couldn't stop the tears from forming. "She's perfect." For a brief moment, the two parents shared a fragile truce, united by admiration for their new daughter. But reality quickly intruded. Elena's expression hardened. "Hold her carefully," she said, her tone heavy with frustration. "Because I won't let you hurt her like you hurt me." Ricardo looked down at Sophia, holding back tears. He had never felt so utterly ashamed. How could he pretend to be a father now, after missing the most important moment of his life? "I won't, I promise," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I will do anything to fix this, for both of you." Elena reached out, taking the baby back into her protective embrace. She looked at him with suspicion. "You have a long way to go to prove that, Ricardo. Don't expect me to believe your words, not after everything you've done." The silence that followed was heavier than any argument. Ricardo felt that silence press down on him, reminding him that no amount of wealth or power could fix what was broken. Only time, honesty, and unwavering commitment could repair it, if at all. Do you think Elena should forgive Ricardo? Or are some things simply unforgivable? Tell us your opinion in the comments. The lingering shadow. The day wore on, filled with postpartum checks, visits from hospital staff, and Elena's occasional attempts to rest. Ricardo remained in the room, though he felt he had no right to. Every time he moved closer to Elena or little Sophia, a wall of pain and mistrust blocked him. Yet, leaving felt worse, an admission that he was incapable of supporting his family. So he stayed, offering water, clean pillows, or any small gesture that might help. A visitor arrived late in the afternoon. Carmen Lopez, the nurse who had witnessed Elena's solitary labor, appeared with a small bouquet of lilies. "How is our new mother?" Carmen asked kindly, placing the flowers on a bedside table. Elena managed a tired smile. "We're adjusting. Thank you for everything last night." Carmen nodded. Then she gave Ricardo a guarded look. She recognized him from his frantic arrival that morning. "I'll give you some privacy," she said, exiting discreetly. Ricardo felt the nurse's tacit judgment as tangibly as the stale hospital air. Outside, reporters and paparazzi swarmed the hospital entrance, hungry for a glimpse of the Mendoza baby. Ricardo's father had been a prominent figure in the business world, and any news about the Mendoza heir was headline-worthy. Elena, however, refused to let cameras near her daughter. She had security inform the press that she and the baby needed rest, but there was no guarantee they would retreat. Ricardo's phone buzzed incessantly with calls from his PR team, demanding statements and clarifications about the birth. He ignored them, focusing on Elena and Sophia. In the quiet corners of the hospital, the whirring machines and whispered voices reminded Ricardo how fragile life was. He remembered meeting Elena at a charity event for Eastern European orphans. How passionately she had spoken about the well-being of children. He had been captivated by her sincerity, and yet, over time, he had let ambition and the craving for excitement overshadow that purity. How did I become this man? He wondered. A phone call finally broke the silence. Isabel Navarro's name flashing on the screen made Ricardo's stomach twist. He declined it without hesitation. Elena noticed the movement. Her eyes narrowed. "Go ahead. Answer it. Isn't that your priority?" she asked bitterly. "No," Ricardo said firmly, putting his phone away. "I'm done with that. I swear it." Silence. Elena's gaze rested on Sophia, who slept peacefully in her arms. "You're done with her? Truly?" He nodded. "Yes, I was lost. Isabel was an escape from the pressures I felt. But it's no excuse. I never meant to betray you like that." Elena let out a shaky breath. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed everything we believed, every promise we made. You left me alone to face the most terrifying moment of my life." Ricardo found no words to justify himself. Instead, he whispered, "I regret it more than you can imagine." The tension escalated in the room. Then, little Sophia stirred, letting out a soft cry. Instinctively, Elena calmed the newborn, clutching her close. Ricardo's heart twisted watching her, yearning to hold his daughter, and being painfully aware of how unworthy he was. "I need time, Ricardo," Elena murmured, rocking the baby. "Don't pressure me to forgive you. Right now, the only thing that matters is my baby's health. You can stay, but keep your distance unless I ask you to. Do you understand?" "Yes, of course," he assented, his voice hoarse. A nurse walked in with postpartum advice and baby care instructions. Ricardo moved aside, feeling like an intruder in a scene that should have been joyful. He yearned to rewind time, to hold Elena's hand through labor, to witness Sophia's first cry in real time. But regret was a currency that could not buy a second chance. All he could do was stay, burdened with his own remorse, hoping that someday his presence could help rather than harm. The cost of a tarnished brand. News of Sofia Mendoza's birth spread like wildfire. Within hours, news outlets headlined the billionaire Ricardo Mendoza's secret hospital visit. Speculative articles dissected Elena's background, retelling her rags-to-riches story. Some tabloids even hinted at Ricardo's alleged romance with Isabel Navarro, framing the newborn's arrival as a possible catalyst for scandal. Paparazzi camped outside the Metropolitan Hospital of Miami, night and day, photographing any figure remotely resembling Ricardo or Elena. Inside the hospital, staff did their best to shield the new mother and baby from the frenzy. Security personnel roamed the halls, turning away unauthorized visitors. A sense of claustrophobia set in for Elena. All she wanted was some peace, to bond with her daughter and breastfeed in silence. But flashing cameras and invasive questions lurked whenever she neared a window. Ricardo also felt the media's suffocating presence. He received calls from his PR manager, who insisted on releasing an official statement. "You can't remain silent," the manager urged over the phone. "Investors want reassurance that your personal life won't destabilize Mendoza Corporation. People are worried about your state of mind." He sighed, leaning against a vending machine in the hospital hallway. "I'll draft something soon. Right now my priority is my daughter." "Make it soon," the manager pressed. "We can't let the rumors about your affair overshadow this moment." Hanging up, Ricardo looked at the neon glow of the vending machine. He realized the image he had cultivated for years as a sharp businessman, a philanthropic prodigy, and a rising star was crumbling under the weight of a moral failure. What is the good of success if my personal life is in shambles? He thought bitterly. When he returned to Elena's room, he found her scrolling through her phone, a somber expression on her face. She looked up, her eyes welling with tears. "They're calling me the naive wife who was replaced by a more glamorous mistress," she said with a shaky voice. "Why can't they just let me heal in peace?" Ricardo's jaw tightened. "I'll take care of it. I'll release a statement clarifying everything, without mentioning Isabel, without mentioning a scandal. Just the truth about you and Sofia." She threw her phone onto the sheets. "And what is the truth, Ricardo? That you left me alone during labor because you were partying with another woman? Or do you plan to spin it into something noble?" Her tone dripped with sarcasm. He rubbed his temples. Remorse hammered him. "I can never spin it into something good, but maybe I can shield you from the worst of it. Let me try." Elena swallowed hard. Her exhaustion was apparent. "Do what you must, but don't pretend I agree with any of this. My priority is Sofia's well-being. If your statement helps keep the paparazzi away from us, fine. But don't expect me to lie for you." A moment of silence weighed between them. He studied the dark circles under her eyes, the slump of her shoulders. Her postpartum state was exhausting enough without a media circus. He gently tried to take her hand, but she pulled away. "Please," she whispered, tears spilling. "I need space." He withdrew, nodding. In that moment, he recognized how much of a stranger he had become to her. They once shared midnight laughs and confessions. Now the only thing connecting them was a beautiful baby girl and the memory of what could have been. Ricardo left the room in silence, resolved to draft a statement that would at least protect Elena from further pain, if not himself. A step back. Ricardo released a brief public statement within hours. It read, "I, Ricardo Mendoza, am delighted to announce the birth of my daughter, Sofia. My wife, Elena, is recovering well. We request privacy as we welcome this new chapter in our family life." He avoided any mention of Isabel Navarro or his personal failings. The tabloids, hungry for scandal, read between the lines, running parallel stories, hinting at marital trouble and a possible reconciliation or separation on the horizon. While the statement mitigated some of the media frenzy, It did little to soothe Elena's bruised soul. She spent 2 more days in the hospital, recovering. Ricardo remained in the background, helping in small ways, fetching clean clothes, dealing with security so she could rest. However, every time he tried to speak, she either closed her eyes or feigned interest in the baby, effectively shutting him out. Upon discharge, Elena insisted on returning to their penthouse because it was legally her home as much as his. Ricardo feared it would be too stressful for her, but she insisted, wanting Sofia to have a stable environment. So they rode the elevator up to the marble lobby that once felt like a dream to her. Now it was a gilded cage filled with bitter memories. The household staff offered quiet congratulations, avoiding direct eye contact. Rumors of Ricardo's betrayal had circulated among them, creating a strained atmosphere. Elena thanked them courteously, holding Sofia close. Exhausted from the car ride, she retreated to the master bedroom, one she and Ricardo used to share. Ricardo, sensing her need for solitude, moved his belongings to a guest suite. That night, after Sofia finally drifted off to sleep, Elena sat on the luxurious bed, her mind racing. She recalled a simpler time, when Ricardo surprised her with candlelight dinners or whisked her away to a cozy cabin in the mountains. She had believed in his love wholeheartedly. Now, that trust lay in shattered pieces. Tears slipped down her cheeks. All she had left was a mother's fierce determination to protect her daughter. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts. Ricardo peeked his head in, an expression of contrition on his face. "Elena, can we talk?" she exhaled, too tired to argue. "Fine, just keep your voice down. Sofia is asleep." He stepped in. His eyes drifted to the sleeping baby in the bassinet. A tender look crossed his face before he turned to Elena. "I know I don't deserve your time, but I need you to understand. I love Sofia, and I love you." She crossed her arms, bracing herself. "You have a strange way of showing it." He winced. "I've been a fool. I got caught up in business events, empty thrills. Isabel, she was never important, just an illusion that fed my ego." He swallowed. His voice shook with regret. "I want to fix this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Therapy, stepping back from some business responsibilities, a vow never to see Isabel again. Anything to earn back your forgiveness." Elena studied him, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. "Ricardo, words are not enough. You missed the birth of your daughter. That moment will never happen again." Her voice broke. "Do you know how alone and afraid I felt in that hospital? Thinking you would choose me and your child over any fling. But you didn't." A tear slid down Ricardo's cheek. His composure crumbled. "I know, and it tears me apart. Please, just give me a chance to prove I can be better." Silence stretched, punctuated by the soft hum of the air conditioning. Finally, Elena sighed. "I won't promise anything. We can start with you taking responsibility for Sofia. Diaper changes, night feedings, pediatrician visits. If you truly care, prove it by being a real father." He nodded vigorously. Relief washed over him. "I will, thank you." She turned away. Her voice was shaky. "Don't thank me yet, Ricardo. This is for Sofia's sake. As for us, that's something else entirely. What would you do in Elena's shoes? Would you give Ricardo another chance? Share your thoughts." The boardroom reflected. The tension remained in the Mendoza Corporation boardroom weeks after Sofia's birth. Ricardo, still reeling from the scandal, struggled to focus on company matters. Rumors circulated among senior executives that the scandal involving Isabel Navarro might trigger a shareholder crisis. Mendoza Corporation, built on a foundation of trust and family values, now faced scrutiny from investors uneasy about the CEO's personal entanglements. During a crucial meeting, Ricardo's mother, Doña Carmen Mendoza, attended as a special advisor. She once headed philanthropic initiatives for the company and remained an influential figure. Several board members looked at Ricardo with skepticism as he presented a new AI project. Though brilliant, his credibility had been marred. As the meeting progressed, it became clear that a faction of the board members favored a temporary change in leadership until Ricardo's personal drama subsided. Doña Carmen rose, drawing attention with her regal posture. "I understand the concerns, but remember that Mendoza Corporation has weathered storms before. My son is committed to rectifying his mistakes. However, we must also ensure stability for our shareholders. A potential solution might involve appointing an interim COO who can share responsibilities so Ricardo can focus on resolving these personal matters." Ricardo stiffened. He had expected pushback, but the suggestion that he needed help wounded his pride. Still, he saw a photo on the wall, a portrait of his late father holding him as a boy. The memory of fatherhood reminded him of the new chapter he had begun with Sophia. Perhaps a step back was necessary for the sake of his company and his family. After the meeting, Doña Carmen approached him privately. "I am proud of how you've been caring for Elena and Sophia," she said softly. "But your employees need unwavering leadership. If this scandal escalates, your personal brand could hurt our stock. Consider a co-leadership model, temporarily." Ricardo sighed, massaging his temples. "I never wanted to share control, but you're right. I can't let my mess drag everyone down. If stepping aside for a while helps the company, I will." He returned to the penthouse that night, exhausted. Elena was in the nursery, singing softly to Sophia. The moment dispelled some of his tension, reminding him that the world outside these walls mattered less than this small family. If only he could keep them together. He cleared his throat softly, so as not to startle her. "Hello?" She looked over her shoulder. "Hi, you look tired." He managed a thin smile. "Board meetings are draining. They suggest I reduce my role. Seems the shareholders are nervous about me." Elena's expression was unreadable. "I'm not surprised. You've been distracted by everything. I think I'll do it. I'll accept a co-leadership arrangement. It will free me up to focus on you and Sophia." For a fleeting moment, Elena's eyes softened, perhaps even with gratitude. "That's a step in the right direction, but I don't want you to give up your ambitions. Just handle them responsibly." His heart warmed at her concern, however small. "I will," he promised, gently stroking Sophia's cheek with the back of his finger. "I'm learning what truly matters." In that silence, they shared a tacit understanding. If Ricardo could prove his sincerity, balancing fatherhood and corporate duties responsibly, perhaps the rift between them could be repaired. But for now, the power shifts at Mendoza Corporation mirrored the uncertain state of their marriage, both in flux, both seeking stable ground. What sacrifice do you think is the hardest to make for love? Leave us your opinion. The public atonement. Despite Ricardo's efforts to stabilize his personal and professional life, Isabel Navarro was not one to exit quietly. Resentful and emboldened by the tabloids eager for sensational headlines, she arranged a press conference at a lavish downtown hotel suite. Rumors hinted she would reveal incriminating details about Ricardo's alleged misconduct, both personal and financial. When the news broke, Mendoza Corporation stock instantly plummeted. Ricardo's phone lit up with panicked messages from board members. Meanwhile, Elena read the article in the morning paper and felt a wave of dread. The headline read, "Isabel Navarro speaks, the truth behind Ricardo Mendoza's betrayal." That evening, Ricardo paced the penthouse living room, phone in hand, calling lawyers and PR managers. Elena sat on the sofa, holding a drowsy Sophia. The tension in the air was palpable. She was torn between wanting to distance herself from the scandal and a silent, persistent urge to protect Ricardo for the sake of her daughter's future. Doña Carmen Mendoza joined them, stepping out of the private elevator in a flurry of perfume and worry. "I just spoke with a friend in the media," Doña Carmen announced. "Isabel is threatening to show photos from that night, possibly messages that imply you gave her insider information about business moves." Ricardo cursed under his breath. "Insider trading? That's insane. I would never compromise the company that way. She's lying." Doña Carmen raised an eyebrow. "Perhaps, but the damage from the accusations alone could be enough to cause a crisis. We must discredit her claims quickly." Elena, feeling the dread in her stomach, rose. "I can't live in constant scandal. What if she drags me into this? Claims something about me or Sophia?" Ricardo approached, his voice urgent. "I won't let that happen. I'll give a counter-press conference. I'll address any accusations head-on. I'll present financial records proving there was no insider leakage. As for her personal claims, I will confess my error in judgment. There is no point in hiding." The moment was surreal. The idea of publicly confessing his mistakes to quell a scandal. But Ricardo had no other choice. If Isabel's accusations gained traction, he could face legal repercussions and lose the company. More importantly, he could forever taint the future he hoped to rebuild with Elena and Sophia. The next day, as Isabel's press conference approached, the Mendoza PR team arranged a live broadcast from the Mendoza Corporation headquarters. Cameras were set up in the main atrium. Employees whispered anxiously. Ricardo stood at a podium, flanked by lawyers. His mother, Doña Carmen, stood discreetly in the background. Elena watched from home, cradling Sophia in her arms, her heart pounding for what he might say. At noon, Isabel Navarro took the stage at a lavish hotel, delivering dramatic monologues about Ricardo's broken promises and hinting at financial impropriety. The press devoured every word. But halfway through, a producer switched the live feed to Ricardo's simultaneous statement. His face was pale, but resolute. "I acknowledge a personal failing," he said, his voice firm into the microphone. "I engaged in an inappropriate relationship with Ms. Navarro. I deeply regret the pain this caused my wife, Elena, and the potential harm to my company. However, any claims of insider trading or illegal financial practices are baseless lies. Today, our lawyers will present proof that Ms. Navarro never had access to, nor was she leaked, any sensitive data." He paused, swallowing hard. "I betrayed my marriage, but I will not betray the trust of our shareholders or the integrity of my daughter's future. That is where I draw the line." His words, raw and direct, stunned the media. The Q&A session crackled with tension, but Ricardo maintained his composure. Meanwhile, Isabel's press event faltered. Reporters switched channels or demanded she show proof, which she lacked. Her dramatic claims faded, overshadowed by Ricardo's confessional honesty and the organized data presented by Mendoza Corporation. At home, Elena watched, tears streaming down her cheeks. She felt a complicated surge of emotions, anger at being publicly humiliated, but also a hesitant admiration for Ricardo's courage to face it head-on. She gently kissed Sophia's forehead, murmuring, "Maybe he is starting to understand." A fragile agreement, the consequences of the dueling press conferences were swift. Isabel Navarro's credibility plummeted, as no tangible evidence backed her insider trading claims. Though she managed to spin the story into a poor me narrative about heartbreak, the corporate scandal angle faded. Reporters diverted attention to Ricardo Mendoza's public contrition and the revelations about his affair, effectively turning Isabel from a cunning villain into a footnote in a complicated love triangle. Mendoza Corporation's stock stabilized once the board affirmed there was no legal wrongdoing. Shareholders, initially uneasy, appreciated Ricardo's willingness to be transparent. Still, The entire ordeal left a blemish on the Mendoza brand. Ricardo acknowledged that trust, both public and private, would not be rebuilt overnight. In the penthouse, life settled into a cautious routine. Ricardo stepped back from daily operations, letting the interim COO handle business expansions. He dedicated more time to fatherhood, learning how to swaddle Sophia and hum off-key lullabies. Elena allowed him these moments, watching from a distance. Her heart remained bruised, but every time she saw him cradle his daughter with genuine warmth, a small piece of her bitterness chipped away. One afternoon, after Sophia finally drifted off to sleep, Elena walked out of the nursery and found Ricardo sitting on the living room sofa, looking through an old photo album. It contained photos of their early days, dates in small bistros, philanthropic galas where they first looked at each other. She hesitated in the doorway, memories flooding her. He looked up, noticing her. "I was remembering how simple things were," he said quietly, "before I let everything spin out of control." She approached. "I never cared about the wealth or the prestige, Ricardo. I cared about you, but you kept chasing more, as if you couldn't be satisfied." He closed the album, his eyes glistening. "I wish I had realized sooner how fleeting those thrills were. I can't undo missing Sophia's birth. It's a regret I will carry forever." Elena sighed, sitting on the edge of the sofa, keeping their space. "I appreciate how you handled Isabel's claims. Being honest publicly was brave." He nodded. "It might not fix everything, but I want you to know I am committed to doing right by you and Sophia from now on." The silence between them felt charged with possibility. Elena fiddled with the hem of her shirt. "I still need time. My trust in you is broken, but I see you trying, and that means something." Relief shone in his eyes. "I won't pressure you. If you prefer separate bedrooms, separate finances, whatever it is, just tell me. I will respect it." His gaze rested on a framed wedding photo on the mantel, a radiant bride and groom, naive and hopeful. The vow they made, for better or for worse, echoed in his mind. Perhaps they were in the worse part now, but maybe, just maybe, there was a path forward. "I'm not ready to share a bed with you," she admitted softly. "But we can try marriage counseling. We can see if there is anything left to save." A flicker of hope brightened Ricardo's expression. "Anything you need." "Do." In that quiet, late-night moment, a fragile agreement was reached. They would begin the slow process of healing, step by step, uncertain, but willing. The scars of Ricardo's betrayal would never completely fade. Yet, for the sake of a small baby girl who deserved a loving home, they would attempt to rebuild. Whether it would end in full reconciliation or a peaceful co-parenting arrangement remained unknown, but both were prepared to at least seek forgiveness. What would you do if you were Elena? Would you give Ricardo another chance? Share your thoughts. The quiet victory, Ricardo and Elena began attending marriage counseling once a week, discreetly entering through a side entrance at Dr. Clara Vidal's office. The sessions were raw and sometimes painful. Elena's tears, Ricardo's confessions. They learned to communicate feelings they had long buried, her fear of being eclipsed by the wealth, his anxiety of never being enough despite his success. Outside of therapy, Ricardo continued to prove his commitment. He woke early to help Elena prepare Sophia's expressed milk bottles, reading parenting books, and fumbling through the mishaps of fatherhood, like a comical novice. Elena still struggled with nightmares of that lonely hospital night. But seeing Ricardo's unwavering presence, day after day, chipped away at her resentment. One Sunday, as the city bustled with mid-morning activity, they ventured out for a stroll in Crandon Park, their first family outing since Sophia's birth. Ricardo wore a baseball cap and sunglasses, hoping to ward off paparazzi. Elena carried Sophia in a carrier, the baby's sleepy eyes peeking out occasionally. The park was bright with greenery, and joggers and families passed by, some recognizing them with subtle double takes. Elena felt a knot of tension in her stomach, expecting a paparazzo to jump out at any moment. But after a while, she realized no one was bothering them. She relaxed a little, letting the soft spring air fill her lungs. They found a quiet bench near the lake. Ricardo gently took Elena's hand. She hesitated, then allowed it, intertwining her fingers with his. The gesture felt both nostalgic and new, a tentative bridge across the distance. "She has your eyes," Ricardo commented, smiling at Sophia, who cooed softly. Elena's lips curved into a small smile. "She has your nose." They sat in silence, content to watch the sunlight glisten on the water. For the first time since the birth, a glimmer of normalcy warmed Elena's heart. Ricardo read her expression and squeezed her hand gently. "I formally requested to transfer part of my stock into a trust for Sophia," he said. "That way she'll be financially secure no matter what happens between us." Elena looked at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude. "You didn't have to." "I did," he interjected, his voice firm. "I want you both to know I'm not going anywhere. If we end up separated, or if you want nothing more to do with me, Sophia's future will still be stable. And if you ever decide to let me in completely—" He trailed off, unsure how to continue without sounding pushy. Elena felt the weight of his sincerity. "Thank you," she whispered, holding back tears. She didn't have the energy to promise him a romantic future, but she acknowledged the depth of his atonement. He was no longer making empty promises. He was backing them with tangible action. They walked further, stopping occasionally as passers-by cooed at little Sophia. Ricardo had never known such domestic contentment, even if it was fragile. Every step with her felt like a gift. He still grappled with guilt at night, remembering the moment Elena dialed his number in vain. But each morning, he woke up resolved to be better. A father who would never abandon his daughter. A husband who might one day earn redemption. That night, returning home, they made dinner together for the first time in months. Sophia dozed in a bassinet, lulled by soft background music. Elena and Ricardo found themselves laughing over an accidental flour spill, their voices echoing in a kitchen that was once filled with tension. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And that, for now, felt like the biggest victory they could hope for. The legacy of love. The months passed, carrying them from the chaos of Sophia's birth to a quieter, though still delicate, routine. With therapy guiding them, Ricardo and Elena navigated challenges and triggers. Every confrontation, an opportunity to test the fragile trust they were rebuilding. Ricardo dedicated himself fully to fatherhood, balancing corporate duties with parental tasks, night feedings, lullabies, doctor appointments. Elena admired his dedication, but remained cautious. She had seen how quickly ambition and temptation could sway him. Isabel Navarro, meanwhile, retreated from the public eye. A small settlement and public disinterest curbed her attempts to fan the scandal. Mendoza Corporation found its footing under the co-leadership, profits stabilized, and philanthropic initiatives continued, something Elena passionately supported. She occasionally helped plan charity events, proud to see Ricardo championing causes that aligned with her initial dreams. One crisp autumn morning, they prepared for a press conference announcing a new initiative, a scholarship fund in Sophia's name for children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Elena would attend to represent the philanthropic side, while Ricardo would speak on behalf of the family. The gesture symbolized not only their commitment to charity, but also a public declaration of unity. In the penthouse living room, Sophia babbled happily in a high chair. Elena, dressed in a simple but elegant navy dress, draped a shawl over the baby. Ricardo adjusted his tie, nerves on edge. It feels unreal, he confessed. I used to view press conferences as purely business. Now it's personal, representing our daughter's future, our marriage, everything. Elena nodded, her heart pounding. I still have reservations about being in the spotlight, but if this helps more children gain opportunities, it's worth it. They shared a small, genuine smile. Then, carefully, they headed to the elevator. The event took place in a grand ballroom of a 5-star hotel. A small media crowd awaited them, though not as large as the scandal press conferences months ago. This time, the tone was positive, an announcement of hope and generosity instead of damage control. Ricardo stood at the podium, clearing his throat. Elena held Sophia in her arms, slightly off to the side. He spoke with measured conviction about the scholarship's purpose, the importance of family, and learning from mistakes. When he concluded, he introduced Elena, who shared a heartfelt reflection on the importance of nurturing children's potential. The applause that followed felt authentic, untainted by scandal. Afterward, a few reporters asked polite questions, mostly about the scholarship details. One, however, asked Elena about her marriage. She looked at Ricardo, then at the reporter. "We're taking it day by day," she responded. "Our focus right now is raising Sophia with love and ensuring a better future for children who need it." The answer put an end to further inquiries. The event concluded on a warm note, with many praising the couple's philanthropic spirit. Later at home, Elena felt an unexpected lightness. She put Sophia in her crib for a nap. Then she walked into the living room, where Ricardo stood near the window, looking out at the city. He turned to her. "You were incredible," he murmured. She nodded, crossing her arms. "Thank you for not making it a publicity stunt." It felt genuine. Their eyes met. The distance between them was minimal. Slowly, Ricardo took her hand. This time, she didn't pull away. "I know I've said I'm sorry countless times," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "But I'll say it again. Thank you for giving me a chance to be part of your life, and Sophia's." Elena's throat tightened. Tears shimmered. She placed a hand on his cheek, a cautious but affectionate gesture. "I'm still healing, but I see how much you've changed, and I want us to be together again, if possible," she said in that quiet, evening moment. A spark of hope illuminated Ricardo's expression. "Anything you need, I will do." The bustling city streets stretched far below them. The skyline glowed under the afternoon sun. Inside the penthouse, Ricardo and Elena stood at the precipice of a new beginning. The scars of betrayal would linger, yes, but love and forgiveness had begun to weave their fragile tapestry. And nestled in her crib, little Sophia slept, oblivious to the complicated drama that preceded her birth, secure in the love that had finally found its footing. Thank you for following this emotional journey in. Wife gave birth, alone in the hospital. Billionaire husband, cheated, repented after seeing the child. This story highlights how heartbreak, infidelity, and family pressures can collide with unexpected force. It also reminds us that redemption, though hard-won, can be possible when honesty and love prevail. Elena's inner strength allowed her to survive the ultimate betrayal, giving birth alone, while Ricardo's awakening proves that neither power nor wealth can replace genuine remorse and active steps toward healing. Their story is a testament to the complicated paths of forgiveness, a mother's fierce protection of her child, and the promise that real change can emerge from life's darkest moments. If this dramatic story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more gripping tales about love, loss, and the resilience of the human spirit. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you keep tuning in for more powerful narratives that delve into heartbreak, hope, and the victories found along the way. Until next time, take care and remember, every ending can lead to a new beginning.